You know, every time I think we've hit rock bottom for bad procreation arguments, the Earth just keeps digging. Then along comes Philip DeFranco and his guest, giggling their way through a segment about antinatalists.
Are getting it. There are many crises in America, right? Mm-hmm. Especially when it comes around housing, but especially the biggest thing is hope. The biggest thing is hope and what we see for our future. I remember a few years ago when I announced that my wife and I were having a baby, I got a lot of negative comments from people being like, why would you bring a child into this world? I was like, because we won't, because I still think it's going to keep going. Right?
There's also there's a community around there. I dealt with these people when I had kids too, mm-hmm. but there's some people now, but there's a growing community of it is evil to bring life into this world. I'm like, oh, fuck yourself, you insane. Anyway.
Yeah, no, but it's also
two men who can describe the end of the world in exquisite detail. Wars, fires, famine, and still think optimism counts as an evacuation plan. The guest drops the masterpiece line, because we still think it's going to keep going. And there it is, the modern gospel of denial. Not faith, not reason, just inertia with a smile. Let's unpack that. You think it's going to keep going? Based on what? Vibes, the Dow Jones, a podcast sponsor? That's like saying, we're having another kid because the roulette wheel hasn't stopped spinning. It's not hope, it's addiction. You need the world to keep going because if it doesn't, your decision to drag another sentient being into this furnace becomes indefensible. You call it faith in humanity. It's really fear of silence. You can't imagine being the generation that finally says enough, so you pretend endless repetition is meaning. DeFranco nods along, half smirk, half mortgage, agreeing that there's a growing community of people who think it's evil to bring life into this world. You know what's actually evil? Creating a new life to suffer the consequences of your own cowardice. You didn't make a miracle, you made a hostage. Then the guest tries to poet himself out of it. My son is the last line in a long line of survivors. Beautiful. You turned generational trauma into a family brand. Your ancestors endured unlivable conditions because they had no choice. You repeated them because you refused to learn. That's not survival, it's inheritance fraud. And when Canada burns, when the skies turn orange, when you sit there wondering why, the answer's staring back through the smoke, because people like you think it's going to keep going. You take every alarm as proof the system still works. The house is collapsing and you call it character building. Hope without responsibility is moral junk food. You binge on it to feel better while the species starves on your behalf. Hope is the new heroin of the middle class. Cheap, numbing, and socially acceptable. You shoot it into your worldview so you never have to face the fact that ethics requires restraint, not reproduction. And DeFranco, this man who built an empire narrating human misery, laughs at antinatalists. He profits from documenting collapse, then breeds another subscriber for it. It's like a war correspondent deciding the real tragedy is low birth rates. You're standing on the deck of the Titanic, interviewing the iceberg for clicks. They mock antinatalists as insane. Imagine calling the one group actually willing to take responsibility for existence insane, while you're celebrating the creation of another casualty of climate, capitalism, and chronic anxiety. You think love excuses harm. It doesn't. It just brands it Hallmark. The guest's entire logic can be summed up in one line. We still think it's going to keep going. Translation: someone else will pay the bill for my denial. And they will, in droughts, in blackouts, in wars fought over the last glass of clean water. Your children will grow up scavenging through the ruins of your optimism. Antinatalism isn't despair, it's accounting. We're the only ones sober enough to read the receipt. You call us negative because we won't join your group hallucination that continuity equals good. We call it honesty. So when you and Phil sit there patting yourselves on the back for believing in the future, understand this. You're not the guardians of hope. You're the salesmen of delusion. You worship the idea of keeping it going no matter what it becomes. That's not noble. It's necrotic. The next time someone asks why you brought a child into this collapsing experiment, don't say because we think it's going to keep going. Say it honestly, because I couldn't stop myself. And that's the truth antinatalists keep repeating. Not because we hate life, but because you refuse to love it responsibly. The world doesn't need more hopeful parents. It needs fewer selfish ones. It doesn't need more survivors. It needs an end to the cycle that makes surviving necessary. So laugh at us, call us insane, mock the evil of restraint. But history already picked sides. Yours is the cult of hope. Ours is the courage to stop. Thank you for watching, and remember to always get sterilized and sterilize your pets and children too. Good night.